Welcome back, everybody, to Toronto Today here on the Parlay. I'm your host, Luca, alongside my co-host, Michael, and we are back with another edition of the show. We're going to talk all things sports and then get to our bet of the night a little bit later on. But first things first, Michael, did you do any betting last night?
Man, as I kind of mentioned there a little bit off air, I've been binging Succession. It's the show of the talk of the town right now that everyone's talking about, and I got hooked. So with no Toronto sports teams really in action last night, that was kind of where my attention was. I did watch a lot of the Celtics Knicks game, however, which was absolutely crazy. We can get into a little bit of that later because there was a bit of a Toronto theme there. And shout out RJ Barrett. But other than that, play a little Call of Duty. It was a bit of a down night in Toronto sports, man.
Yeah, I'll be honest, too. I didn't put any bets. I didn't really like too much, but what I will say is this. I mean, there were a lot of good value bets in the NBA. The Knicks coming back from 25 down. Imagine you put them live. That would have been unreal. Also, the Pelicans beating the Warriors straight up. That was, that would have given you a ridiculous return. And then you had the Grizzlies just smoke the Pistons and the Suns beat the Clippers. So, yeah, I could have put together a nice little 4-game parlay, but I don't think I would have ever guessed that the Warriors were going to lose to the Pelicans. So,
Yeah, especially, with the way the Warriors have been playing. Obviously, got to give some love to JV, Jonas Valanciunas, former Raptor, for kind of what he's been doing with the Pelicans this season. And the Pelicans doing it without Zion too, so that's a shocker. But
yeah, no, it definitely is. All right, so we are going to talk about a game that we might be wagering on tonight, but I don't know. This line, it seems a little misleading. How about the Raptors taking on the Jazz, putting their win streak on the line? The line for tonight's game, Mike, the Raptors favored by 11 and a half points. Now, the spread is this big because, the Jazz are going to be missing a lot of key guys, Connolly, Gobert, Mitchell, and Ingles. But are you surprised, given that this line is still that high?
yeah, maybe they've been watching our show, Luca, and telling everybody how the Raptors are a good value bet right now. And you know what, with the key guys that you mentioned there, Conley, Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, like those are probably four starters there for the Jazz they're going to be down. And I honestly, I'm not surprised with the way the Raptors have been playing. They've won something about 8 of their last 9 games, and they've actually gone 5-0 against the spread in their last 5. So not surprised at all to see this kind of growing and growing. Yeah, we can get into our picks a little bit as well because I'm actually leaning, despite the heavy spread, I'm still personally leaning Raptors here. I think the Raptors at Scotiabank Arena without the crowd, they've been playing really well at home. They've been playing really well in the new year. They've really been playing well over like the last month or so. And with the Raptors team back intact, we keep talking about that confidence, the way that Pascal's playing, the way that Fred VanVleet's playing. I do like the Raptors here to cover that number again against a really depleted Jazz team. How about you, man?
Yeah, you know what? This line seems too good to be true. Like the logical answer would be to take the Raptors and ride their momentum. I mean, there's no reason why the Jazz win this game or even keep it close. But I do have this feeling that it could be a trap. At the end of the day, the Jazz are still, one of the better teams in the league. They're extremely well coached. They're a good road team. So 11 and a half just seems way too many points for me to take on the Raptors. This is a team that usually maybe makes these games interesting. I know they did blow out, the Spurs and the Knicks a couple nights ago, but in that game against the Bucks, it got, interesting late. I think the Jazz are just still too good of a team. I know they're missing a bunch of starters, but I have this feeling some way, somehow they're going to keep this game close. The Raptors still win this game, but I could see the Jazz in that third and fourth quarter, maybe going on a run and keeping this thing within striking distance. So yeah, I don't know if I can ever take the Raptors minus 11 and a half. So I'm not going to start here. I'm going to go with, I guess, some value and take the Jazz plus 11 and a half. But I'd be shocked if the Raptors don't win this game. So if you want to hammer Raps money line, I mean, yeah, put this together with a couple other games in the NBA, and all of a sudden you got a nice little parlay going on.
Yeah, maybe avoid that. I don't know if it's worth it. I think the Raptors are something like minus 700 on the money line
Yeah.
tonight. So I don't even know if it's worth putting down that bet just in case the Jazz somehow, some way surprise the Raptors. But yeah, it could be a little bit of a trap, Luca. Maybe I'm just a little bit of an optimist here, but I feel like the Raptors are playing some of the best basketball right now in the NBA and playing like one of the best teams. So again, personally, I say smash that cover and see if they cover that, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays
Yeah,
out,
and
man.
the Raptors are catching breaks, right? In what seems to be every single game. But I know a lot of people can say, oh, they're beating up on teams who are missing their key guys. But this is a little bit of some, good luck that has come the Raptors' way. I guess this is After them spending an entire season in Tampa, them getting a little bit of a break here because they are getting the benefit of these games, going up against teams that are missing their stars, Giannis the other night, and now you're going to be missing basically an entire Jazz starting five. So like the Raptors, they are catching breaks, which is great to see. But what's key is they are taking care of business. I mean, you look ahead here, Mike, like even to Sunday's game, we don't know the line yet for that one, but you would think the Raptors are going to be favorites against the Pelicans. That's another game they can win. So we could potentially be back here on this show on Monday, and the Raptors could be riding a 6-game winning streak before they have a pretty important date against the Suns. That's going to be a big game. But the Raptors, they are taking advantage of all these guys being out for the opposing team, and they're stringing together these wins. So this is the perfect start to their year, and they're doing what they need to do to, bolster that record and all of a sudden move on up in the standings. What are they, 7th going into today? It's incredible the type of turnaround this team has had over the last week or so.
Vegas might have caught on to the Raptors, hot stretch here. But I don't know if other teams in the NBA are right now with the amount of times they're resting their players or just the lucky breaks the Raptors are catching overall. And one thing I also want to mention is the reason why I'm also liking this big spread, is because the Raptors are scoring a lot. It's always been typically a high scoring game. And I think the Raptors have hit the over the last 9 games. So it typically is a high scoring contest when you have, the Raptors starters intact. And we'll see if that trend continues today and they can kind of widen that margin. But as you said, Luca, it could be a little bit of a trap here. And we'll see kind of how this plays out.
I mean, like you're looking on the Jazz side of the ball. If the Raptors play that type of defense they played in the second half against the Bucks, like it's virtually game over. Who's going to step up and really carry the offensive burden for that Jazz team? Maybe a Jordan Clarkson could come up big, but there might not be a lot there. So we'll see. Mike's riding with the big number. I'm taking the points. I'm being a little bit more conservative. But we'll see how it plays out in tonight's matchup between the Jazz and the Raptors. Raptors going to be back at home once again with no fans. All right, switching gears now. The Leafs and the Avalanche play Saturday night. We do not know the odds yet in this one, but you would get the feeling that the Leafs are going to be maybe a slight underdog in this one just because of how dominant the Avalanche have been, especially at home. They're 12-2-1 this season. So how do you see this line potentially looking? And are you willing to, bet the Leafs money line potentially if they are a slight dog?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I think the way that this line will look, it'll be one of those rare games where the Leafs right now, who have been on absolute fire, as you mentioned there, Luca, they are going to be probably the underdog heading into Colorado, into Denver there. The Avalanche right now are the current Stanley Cup favorites at plus 525. And the Leafs are not too far behind them. They're 4th at plus 750. The Avalanche, they're playing some of the best hockey in the league right now, the best hockey in the league. Let's call a spade here. But that being said, I mean, hey, the Leafs kind of rise to the occasion when it's been these types of games. About a month ago when they faced Colorado in Toronto, Nathan McKinnon's kind of first game back there, the Leafs took it to the Avalanche and they won 8-3 that game. Do I like the Leafs on the money line? That's tough. I mean, it might be some good value because it is a rare occasion where the Leafs are going to be the underdogs heading into this one. But the Colorado Avalanche, they're on fire at home. Absolute fire. I think they've won something like you said, 12-2-1 at home this season. That's a tough call for me. I'm gonna kind of try to stay away from that game if I can.
I mean, I would say smash the over because 7 of the last 8 meetings has had the combined over hit. So I mean, there's gonna be a ton of goals in this one. Like you mentioned, the last meeting was 8-2. So I mean, I got to see what the official line is in this one, Mike. But all in all, just given the fact that the Leafs are going to be coming into this game, riding that win streak with all the momentum in their corner, I'm most likely going to take the Leafs money line because you are going to get some decent odds with them being the slight dog. I know it's always a tough place to play in Colorado, but the Leafs, they're thriving right now. They've beaten this team already. They're not afraid of anybody, it seems. So the Leafs definitely do look like to be the good value pick here. So we'll see officially what that line looks like. But you look at this Leafs team. Are you surprised that William Nylander, of all players, are leading this team in goals right now?
I have to be. You have to be surprised that Nylander is kind of stepping up. He's building off his momentum kind of in the playoffs last year. And really, aside from maybe John Tavares, William Nylander is probably the most consistent producer right now for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And, odds are sort of catching up with him in that regard if you're going to place a bet on a point. But the good thing about Nylander is that he's not necessarily scoring in bunches. It's kind of been spread out. So if you are trying to hit like an assist a game or a power play point a game, Nylander kind of has turned into sort of that steady bet. Will it continue? I mean, I see no reason why not. Just looking back to where this began, and that's always that's been last season's playoffs and moving forward today. So I do like Nylander to continue this hot start. I am surprised that he is leading the team. That might look a little bit different if Matthews, Marner were kind of healthy this entire season. But credit to Nylander, who's kind of stepped up, and it's a good sign for the Leafs, who, if you're getting a lot of scoring from players like Nylander, Tavares, that takes pressure off their big dogs to kind of continue this push. And I think, there's no reason why the Leafs can't make a deep run if Nylander and Tavares are producing like they are.
The player prop bets are what's interesting to me. I've typically always been a guy who bets, money line and spreads, but these player prop bets, you can get some good value with some of these players, like William Nylander, like you just said. And, we're going to talk about some other guys now who have been filling it up lately and maybe look to put some money on them in terms of their production going into some future games. That's going to lead us into our very first edition of the segment. That is T.O. Love, where we look at Canadians who are performing at a high level right now. And we're first going to start with former Leaf, Nazem Kadri, 42 points in 27 games. He's on a 10-game point streak and top 5 in scoring. So are you surprised by this? Kadri is lighting it up right now in the NHL.
I think you have to be surprised by this. I mean, I don't think he's ever really scored at this type of pace. He is in a contract year, and he stepped up really big when Nathan MacKinnon was out for a long period of time. And even though MacKinnon has come back, and I think this is kind of the most surprising part, is Kadri's pace hasn't slowed down despite the addition of Nathan MacKinnon. And he's really become a steady piece for that Avalanche. And I think the Colorado Avalanche are kind of regretting not extending Kadri in the offseason, because now he's going to be in for a really big payday. And I'm not surprised if that number will be towards about 7 million with the way that he's producing right now. So very surprised to see Kadri, but you got to give him some love. Former Leaf, who turned out really well. And I know we have some breaking news as well, Luca, with the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have placed forwards Pierre Engvall and Mitch Marner into the NHL's COVID-19 protocol. But so before I think we get on with this rest of the segment, I think we should talk about that a little bit, because how does that affect the Leafs' chances against the Avalanche tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. Big breaking news on this show. I might be a little hesitant now to maybe take the Leafs, money line. That's a big loss. And we've seen what COVID has done to some of these teams. Just the other night, the Oilers had a ton of guys out, including McDavid, and we saw, what it did to them. They did, make that game competitive, but ultimately they did lose. Yeah, this could be, this could be one of those examples where the Leafs need to be at full strength to beat a very capable team in the Avalanche. And, missing a couple of forwards now, are they going to be able to, put up the type of firepower that they want in Colorado, a tough place to play, like we mentioned. So yeah, very big news. Now, definitely, I assume that the Avalanche are going to be favorites, probably maybe 1.5, we'll see. But yeah, this definitely factors into betting on the Leafs now and being comfortable with that.
Yeah, and I think 2 players now that I want to highlight again. We'll circle back, and I think it's a big opportunity now for William Nylander to be a good sort of value bet with Mitch Marner out of the lineup. Does he push up there with Austin Matthews on that top line and get some heavy minutes? But regardless, he will be relied upon a lot more to create a lot more scoring chances. So I like him. And another player I like, who's kind of been really steady since he's come back from his hand injury, that's Ilia Mccabe. He has 3 goals in 3 games this season. And will he get an opportunity into the top 6 like he's wanted? In the offseason, he requested a trade away from the Toronto Maple Leafs because he hasn't been getting ample opportunity. Well, now's his time to shine, because he's probably going to be relied upon to kind of step up here with Marner out of the lineup. And can he really make a bid for staying in that top 6 the rest of the way? We'll see. He will have, potentially up to what is it, 5 days, a couple games here. So we'll see if he can cement his place in the lineup.
Yeah, keep an eye on it. There could potentially be more players who do enter health and safety protocols. Kind of the theme of, every sport, every league this season, where you don't know what you're truly betting on up until, the puck drop or the tip off happens in the NBA and NHL respectively. Going back to T.O. Love, we talked about Nazem Kadri tearing it up. How about RJ Barrett? He started that game against the Celtics slow, but then he turned it up. He had a huge game. He called game, but he didn't call, bank, as he hit the game-winning shot against the Celtics to cap off a 25-point comeback for the Knicks. I think I read that it was the Knicks' first buzzer beater game winner since 2012. So it's been a while since, MSG got up on their feet to see that type of shot, see that type of game winner right before their very eyes. But you look at RJ Barrett, he's averaging nearly 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists over the last, month. And to me, Mike, if the Knicks do want to make a bit of a turnaround here and they want to reestablish themselves in the playoff picture, they need, RJ Barrett to be that guy along with Randall. Those are their two pillars. Those are their two best players on paper. Both of those guys have to be consistent. And we've seen with both those players in Randall and Barrett, an inconsistent start to their season, but Randall, especially with, Barrett now by his side back from health and safety protocols, they're really thriving and they're really playing good basketball. So it's great to see, the Canadian lead this Knicks team to victory on, TNT where everybody's watching.
Yeah, no, it's great to see the Canadians shine like that. I think I saw a stat where he was the 7th Canadian in NBA history to hit a buzzer beater. That's Mississauga's own RJ Barrett. So we have to give him some love. Yeah, that game was absolutely crazy. That's 25-point comeback for the Knicks, as you mentioned. If you were to bet live in that game, imagine the pot that you're taking home if you called that comeback. I don't think anyone was really going to call that comeback, though, because of the way that Boston was playing and how behind the Knicks were. But yeah, RJ Barrett, up to that point, he was 3 of 14 in that game. And this is kind of a testament to what you're saying there, Luca, where he kind of has to be that guy. Despite missing so many shots, don't be shy to continue to bet for RJ Barrett because he's going to be taking those shots. We can give some love to Evan Fournier, who had about 40 points last night as well. He's going to be a key piece for that Knicks team. And the way that the Knicks started this year, they were looking like the real deal. And as you mentioned, if RJ Barrett's not playing up to his standard, then I think this Knicks team kind of falls back. So yeah, Barrett absolutely will be relied upon. I want to see what this team looks like as well when Kemba Walker returns from protocol and of course Derrick Rose as well. So I think this Knicks team is one to watch, and there's a star there from Canada, from Mississauga, in RJ Barrett to kind of lead the way there with Julius Randle.
Yeah, it's great to see. And I guess if I had to say who do I have more faith in out of the Celtics and the Knicks to turn their season around, it's the Knicks. Because right now the Celtics are a mess. I think they're in shambles. I think major moves are coming. And this is a team where if you see live, they're up big. It doesn't, it wouldn't hurt to put some money on the other team to make a comeback. This is a team that's continuously blowing leads. They're getting upset. The other night, too, they were favored by, I think, about 7.5 points against the Spurs. The Spurs beat them outright. So they're struggling right now. Every time you see the Celtics are favored in a game or they're up big, it doesn't hurt to put some money on the other team because they are just not playing up to standard. And I just don't see them turning it around. I think they got a lot of internal problems. So, yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think the Knicks have a better shot at turning their season around right now than the Boston Celtics do.
Oh, I'm smiling, and for those listening to this later, I'm smiling right now ear to ear because this is a Toronto sports show. So anytime that we can, talk about the Celtics in sort of a bad light, a Boston team in a bad light, we're gonna smile ear to ear there. So I'm with you there, Luca. And Celtics have a lot of question marks. I know they've battled a lot of injuries, but who else in the NBA hasn't right now? So I'm not too confident about the Celtics as well. I'm still not sold on the Knicks. And if you want to relate this back to a Toronto sports team, I think the Raptors are in a position right now to finish ahead of both of those teams, which is something ludicrous to say at the start of the year. I don't think anyone was kind of predicting that. So shout out the Raptors, shout out, the Knicks and RJ Barrett for what they're doing. And whatever the opposite of a shout out is, that's what I'm sending towards Boston. Just complete negative vibes, man.
Yeah, the only reason we're even giving the Knicks love is because they do have a Canadian in RJ Barrett. If he wasn't playing for the Knicks, I mean, we would be showing no attention to the Knicks because, bitter rivals. We don't want to see the Knicks or the Celtics prosper. So we're going to get to our bet of the night now, Michael. This is our very first edition of this segment. So I'll let you take the floor first. Looking ahead to tonight's games, who is what is your bet of the night? Who are you putting your money on?
So I'm technically gonna go away from a Toronto sports team here, but that's because this guy's made me a lot of money this year. It still kind of is keeping that Toronto sports angle, and I'm gonna give some love to DeMar DeRozan, and I'm gonna take DeMar DeRozan to score more than 26 points tonight. The over set at 25.5 at -115, and DeMar has hit that over in 4 of his last 5 games, that mark in 4 of his last 5 games, including on New Year's Day against this Wizards team. They're playing Washington tonight at home. Their Lonzo Ball is going to be back in the lineup, and that helps facilitate DeRozan a little bit more, frees him up. And this season in general, DeRozan's averaging over 27 points per game. So why not take DeRozan right now, right?
Yeah, anything DeRozan Bulls related right now is a safe bet. This team is playing unbelievable basketball. They're atop of the East. I mean, some experts said they weren't even going to make the play-in tournament, and here they are dominating, the league. And DeRozan playing like an MVP. Let's call it for what it is. I mean, this is his best season yet, and that's saying a lot because he had a lot of good seasons here in Toronto, but he's truly playing like that guy. And what's impressed me the most about DeRozan is his ability in the fourth quarter to absolutely take over a game. He's leading the league in fourth quarter production, fourth quarter points. And he's a guy who you put the ball in his hands, his mid-range game, automatic. He could get to the line. He can, hit a three when he needs to. DeRozan is doing it from everywhere on the court. So shout out to him, ex-Raptor. We want to see DeRozan do well. And that's one of the reasons why I do want to see the Bulls do well, is because I think DeRozan at this point of his career, he's due. He's due for a little bit of success, especially in the postseason. And it would be awesome if by some way this Bulls team can pull a Suns from a year ago and defy the odds and get to an NBA Finals and give DeRozan a chance to compete for a championship, because we saw how it uplifted Lowry's career into that next echelon of players. I think he'll do the same for DeRozan if he's able to get one before his career is done.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's sleeping on the Bulls right now. They have to be considered one of the best teams, not only in the Eastern Conference, but the NBA, with the amount of talent that they have. Like, we can do this whole show without talking about Nikola Vucevic, who has been one of the best big men in the league, and he's coming into his own as well for the Bulls. But in terms of DeRozan, like, no disrespect to any Toronto teams he's played on in the past, no disrespect to the Spurs, but has to be the best team that DeMar DeRozan has ever played on, and he's the guy. DeMar DeRozan is the guy for that team. Him, Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, again, Vucevic. This is a team that kind of oozes with talent, and one of the biggest knocks with DeRozan is the playoffs. Kind of what can he do in the playoffs? Well, kind of similar to the way that Pascal Siakam's excelling this year. DeRozan's a guy who's not going to attract too many double, triple teams because you simply can't leave guys on the Bulls open. So DeRozan is stepping up in a big way, and he's in that perfect spot right now where he can kind of be that guy and excel in sort of his mid-range game and really take over the fourth and take that final shot as we've seen a bunch of times now. So very, very excited to see DeMar DeRozan continue to prosper, and excited to see if he can hit that over as I'm predicting tonight.
We got some more breaking news. The early line for the Leafs Avs, Leafs plus 115, Avs plus 138. Very tempting. I mean, who do you like after seeing that?
With Marner out, I know it's not the best odds, but I'm leaning Avs there just because it's not a crazy money line yet. How about you, Luca? You tempted with the Leafs or what?
I'm always looking for value. I mean, it's going to be tough now. I did like the Leafs before the health and safety protocol news, so I probably would be more conservative, either avoid this game altogether or take the Avs. So yeah, it's going to be tough for the Leafs. I think if they somehow do pull off the money line win, it's going to be a true testament to how well this team is playing right now. But what I am going to be betting on, getting back to my bet of the night for tonight, I'm going to be riding the Lakers. And I can't believe I'm saying that, given how bad this team has started the season and how bad they've looked during the season. But right now, they're actually playing some decent basketball. They've won 3 in a row. And the only reason why I'm taking the Lakers tonight confidently is because LeBron James is simply playing out of his mind. To me, he's playing like the best player in the world right now, and he's age 37. It's unbelievable what he is doing out there to give this Lakers team a chance to win, because their roster right now, it's not good. I don't expect this Lakers team to go deep in the playoffs. Russell Westbrook, not a good fit. They're going to get a lot better once Anthony Davis comes back, assuming he's healthy. But the only reason why the Lakers are even stringing together these wins is simply because of LeBron. We've seen in the past, he can carry guys like me and you on the way, on his way to an NBA Finals. He can do it all out there. So I'm going to be taking the Lakers -2.5. I think it's a very favorable spread for them. And they're going up against a Hawks team. You talk about, biggest disappointments this season in the NBA. We mentioned, teams like the Knicks and the Celtics. You got to add the Hawks to that category. This was a Hawks team coming off an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. They have not played well. Now, they have had a ton of guys out, whether it was injury or health and safety protocol, but they just seem to not be able to get it together right now. And Trae Young, this is going to be too much, on his plate, but I just don't think the Hawks can beat the Lakers, especially given that these two teams right now are headed in opposite directions. So, yeah, I can't believe I'm taking the Lakers tonight because I'm usually betting against them, and that's made me a ton of money. But give me the Lakers tonight, Mike. -2.5. I think they continue their win streak.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, and especially with the way that LeBron is playing and the way the Lakers have been playing in general. I wonder, though, if the potential return of John Collins maybe strays that a little bit because, as you mentioned, the Lakers have been without Anthony Davis. Their front court is in question. You've seen at times LeBron James play center. And John Collins is proven to be one of the best big men in the league, along with Clint Capella. So if the Hawks can kind of exploit that I guess matchup down low, and where they clearly have the advantage with those two players, and you add in Trae Young, who can just destroy you on the perimeter, I wonder there if the Hawks maybe have a slight advantage. But I mean, I'm with you in terms of the Lakers having good value there. I think that's a spread that's very reasonable for them to cover. And if they continue to play the way they've been doing, Luca, you can find yourself sitting pretty in the winner's seat there tomorrow.
We'll see how we do with our bet of the night. But that is going to conclude Toronto Today here on The Parlay. Another great edition of the show. Let us know what you think of our picks. And you can follow us all over social media on The Parlay, where we come to you Monday through Friday with all things Toronto and more. Thank you so much for watching. On behalf of myself and my co-host Michael, we're signing off. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you again on Monday.